Business owners, you love what you do, and you work hard making your business a success. But let's face it, every company has tasks that take up your valuable time and are boring. Intriate is an international company that can take care of the boring, monotonous tasks for you and your clients. Intriate covers the entire world, the United States, Germany, Austria, Dubai, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Their main service is data entry, which covers basically any work which requires inserting data, like copying information from photos and writing them to a database, listing e-commerce products, and that's just the beginning of what they do. Every business is faced with different, monotonous, and boring tasks. Let Intriate take the boring jobs from your business, entities, and clients and handle them for you. What are you waiting for? Take your company to the next level. Contact Intriate online at intriate.org and learn how they can help you and your company. Intriate.org.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and please make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to us on. Well, there was a happening on The View, and I apologize, guys, for talking about The View, because I don't think many people at all, if anyone, likes The View, and I don't even think their ratings are that high. What happens with The View is there'll be an incident, and then people will talk about that incident. They didn't see it, but they'll see a clip on a news website or on social media or something, and then we're all talking about it. I do not watch The View, but things happen, and I see it on my Twitter feed, so then I pull up the audio, and we are going to talk about something that happened on Friday. And what happened on Friday was outrageous, just completely disgusting. They have on this guy who's a regular on Joy Reid's program on MSNBC. He's basically on there every night. I don't know the guy's name. He's the guy that has the Don King hair. He's got completely white hair, black guy, and the hair is just a very strange hair. And he has a new book out. And, of course, he says that the Constitution of the United States is trash. And I know, isn't that something?
Well, he can go live somewhere else.
Yeah.
If he doesn't like America.
I guess. And they had this discussion, and it was so outrageous. Even Joy Behar seems taken aback by it. And I wanted to play this.
And the audience, too. The audience did not really respond to him. Everybody was just kind of silent.
It was an uncomfortable moment. Yeah, it was an uncomfortable moment.
Well,
who is the one woman on The View, the fake Republican, Hispanic lady, the one that's gained a lot of weight?
Puts on 10 pounds every week?
Yeah.
Anna Navarro.
Anna Navarro is on this clip. That Sunny girl, somebody else I don't know, and Joy Behar and this winner that has the book. And I'll tell you, The View knew he was going to say this because I heard him say a variation of the exact same thing on with Joy Reid last week.
Oh, yeah. He says it all the time.
So they had him on there knowing
it's like a
this.
broken record.
Yeah. And there are some things that obviously it's America. You have freedom of speech. I'm not talking about limiting people's freedom of speech. But there's just some things that are not decent. And you got to have some practices and principles and standards with your broadcast. And to bring some guy on who calls the United States Constitution, this is his clever word, trash, you'll hear this in the exchange.
Yes, he's a wordsmith.
Just to sell books.
Yeah.
That's just, it's irresponsible to do something like that. Now, if the guy had like an argument, like something had happened, and there's an injustice that's going on in our society, and the Constitution allows this injustice to continue today, okay, go on and talk about it. But just to call the Constitution of the United States trash is beyond the bounds of, in my opinion, decency. And, around the world, most every democracy in the world, they have their own constitutions in other countries, but most constitutions of other countries are based, at least loosely, on the United States Constitution. So anyway, let's get to this, and then we'll talk about it as we go on. So this is The View yesterday, all right? And Friday's show on The View was taped. They taped Friday's show on Thursday. So this isn't like something that happened live, and It was out of control. This is something
Whoopi was on Thursday, so she had to, I guess, leave after the first Thursday show because she was on there trashing Lauren Boebert.
Well, I think Thursday afternoon there was a convention of Holocaust deniers, and she's keynote speaker.
Oh, that's right.
That's
Whoopi, her big issue.
Whoopi had to be there.
Yes.
But anyway, listen to this. Oh, and I'll tell you something about Whoopi Goldberg just real quick here, just before we play the clip. She has doing something very strange. Okay, Whoopi Goldberg has gained a lot of weight, and
they got to stop feeding them whatever they're feeding them at backstage at The View, because they're all packing on tons of weight like every week. They just get bigger and bigger. Yeah, it's not a good look for TV.
Yeah, and Whoopi Goldberg has taken to wearing velvet.
Yes,
I don't know, what
like
do you
a bathrobe kind of thing.
Yeah, these velvet bathrobes and
like a muumuu or something,
and no bra.
Yes,
and
she does not wear bras anymore.
She was.
She's hanging out all over.
She was on a special a few months ago for the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World, which was a children's program that aired on ABC television and the Disney Plus app. Not only was she completely braless, it was like, the headlights were sticking, heading straight ahead with the brights on.
When you wear velvet or anything like that, it's going to show. It shows everything.
Yeah, and come on,
kind of fabric.
Come on, Whoopi. You work on television in 4K high definition. Take care of yourself. And then,
well, they hired her.
She is on the new season of Star Trek Picard, the new Star Trek series, season 2, and she's wearing a velvet thing again and completely braless as she's talking to Captain Picard.
You know what that is, Brian? That is pure laziness. She just wants to be comfortable and braless, and she's probably barefoot too, and just walking around
with bunions and everything.
Like walking around like she's in her pajamas at home. She can't even be bothered to put a bra on and get dressed like a normal person.
You know what I think it is? I think and I was before she got political on The View, I always liked Whoopi Goldberg. Then she got all political and nasty.
No, she's a good actress.
Very good. She's a very talented actress, and when she was doing comedy, she's very funny. Her performance, though, on Star Trek Picard, it was not. She plays Guinan. Remember, it was in the
so she's kind of lost her ability.
She wasn't even acting. It was just like she was talking to Joy Behar on The View. It was so strange.
Weird.
But I think what it might be with Whoopi Goldberg, and I don't know, you guys let us know in the comments, because she's gotten so overweight, it's probably difficult for her to bathe and take care of herself. So she just puts on these curtains, these velvet curtains.
I think part of the reason her acting might not be as good is I think she's had a lot of blows to her confidence. And the way she looks is one of them. And also a lot of heat she's taken in the press for being on this show and saying things. And I think that affects you as an actor because you're going into a performance. Think of how the public perceived her when she was on Next Generation compared to now. Her public perception has changed. Yeah. She looks horrible.
She's not
beloved
That's going to
affect her confidence level, and it's going to affect her performance. Look at Carrie Fisher when she came back and did Leia. Okay? She was not great. I hate to speak ill of her because she passed away, but her performance in the last Star Wars she was in was not very good.
Yeah.
And you start to think, well, do these actors lose their ability to act? I don't think so. Her mom was in movies as an older woman, and she was just as good as she was in the 50s.
The View.
But I think it's other things going on.
The View has destroyed people's reputations.
I think it's part of it.
Whoopi Goldberg, for example. Rosie O'Donnell was liked and had a decent career, and The View destroyed her. But anyway, so let's get to this. This is The View on Friday. They've got this guy peddling his book, attacking our great United States Constitution.
And he does it in such a insulting and mocking way. Yeah. It's really extremely disrespectful.
Yeah, here we go. So we've got the whole coven here, minus Whoopi.
I have to tell you, I loved this book so very much. The first chapter, canceling trash people is not a constitutional crisis. Chapter 9, the taking of black land, was another favorite of mine. And
she's going through the chapter list that's Sunny here that she loved. Goodness. The taking of black land.
I don't know what they're talking about.
What is she talking about? Does anyone know what that reference is?
I guess there's a lot of homes over in the other.
He's talking about America.
Places.
Talking about America. I don't know. All right, let's back to it.
Reverse racism is not a thing. I just think it's fantastic. So, let me
tell you this thing.
Ridiculous.
That's one of the chapters. Reverse racism is not a thing. Now, I remember back in the 90s, people would talk about reverse racism. And what minorities would say is, there's no such thing as reverse racism, because to be racist, a group must have power over another group.
That's not true.
To discriminate against them. Well, we are beyond that now. We've had a black president twice. We have a black vice president, and a black person on a whim can cancel someone's entire career and life at the snap of a fingers. Look at Milo. Milo was banned from social media because he was critical of an African-American actress from
Brian,
awful Ghostbusters movie.
If the definition of racism is that
there's a lot of power.
Well, if the definition of racism is that you have to be oppressing somebody, then they're using the word altogether wrong.
I
because
guess.
they call everybody a racist. Nobody's oppressing anybody.
I guess.
But they throw that word around like it's, like it's nothing.
Yeah. All right, back to it.
I live in Florida, so I'm like on ground zero of where all of this is happening. I'm out of my mind about the bills banning conversations about race and ethnicity and
Okay, that's Anna Navarro.
Oh, my goodness.
They're not banned. Conversations about race and ethnicity are not being banned in Florida or in Florida schools.
No.
Governor Ron DeSantis has banned critical race theory. You can still talk about race and skin color and things and black history, but critical race theory is a particular thing that is not permitted in Florida schools.
LGBTQ, just even mentioning gender identity in primary schools. But some will say, okay, so are you arguing for throwing out the Constitution? Should the Constitution be thrown out? What do we do? Is it a living document? Or is it a sacred document?
It's certainly not sacred. All right, let's start there. The Constitution is kind of trash. Now, let's just talk as adults for a second.
What did you say? It's what?
It's kind of trash.
You see, that even Joy is like, whoa, this is over the line.
Yeah.
This is like, Joy Behar is
She's like, did I hear that properly?
What? And you know someone's out there on the left if Joy Behar is even, taken aback.
It was written by slavers and colonists and white people who were willing to make deals with slavers and colonists. They didn't ask anybody who looked like me what they thought about the Constitution. They didn't say, oh, Jim, come over here. What do you think about this old Constitution? Well, massa, I sure don't like how you sell my children. But I gotta say, this King George, he needs to be stopped. My grandpapa used to say, ain't no taxation without representation for massa. Like, that's not what happened.
Okay.
Right? This document...
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this guy, because he's on MSNBC, Joy Reid,
he's living in the
every
past.
night. And what those very negative, stereotypical little phrases and everything, and tone and voice and accent he used and everything, that's what he uses when he's talking to groups as he travels around spreading his hate and peddling his book. And those are the laugh lines and applause lines typically. And he's not getting any of that.
Nothing from the audience.
From The View.
Nope.
And for a New York City audience, in The View audience, to not laugh and applaud, there's a little nervous laughter in the background, but no applause, nothing.
Well, they're afraid to
That's a
challenge him
statement.
because he'll label them bigots.
Yeah.
So they're afraid to challenge him, but he's the bigot. And I guess he's first of all, there's nothing in the Constitution about selling children. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
And nothing he brought up is even in the Constitution. The Constitution, as of today, applies to him, and it applies to every
Everyone.
American citizen in this country.
That's right.
And he enjoys the rights of the Constitution.
That's right.
Like everybody else.
It's written without the consent of black and brown people in this country and without the consent of women in this country. And I say if that is the starting point, the very least we can do is ignore what those slavers and colonists and misogynists thought and interpret the Constitution in a way that makes sense for our modern world. That's
Okay.
Okay.
Now, you know what?
That'll work.
None of us consented to the Constitution.
Exactly.
No one alive had any input or consent in the Constitution.
So we're all supposed to so the new thing is to have everybody has their own truth. There's no absolutes anymore, right? It's totally abstract.
Yeah.
And so the Constitution now is my truth. I
Right.
can make it mean whatever I want it to mean.
That's
and
correct.
he can make it mean for him whatever he wants it to
Correct.
mean. There's no absolute. That's a
Correct.
very dangerous place we're getting into where there's no absolute truths and people are just living their own truth. And that's insane.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, let's see if he has any other wisdom.
Yeah.
Rewrite it? Do you want to rewrite it?
I could, right? I could rewrite parts of it in a tweet, right? Like, how about popular election for the president? People vote, not land.
That's not even in there, is it?
I'm saying if I was rewriting it.
Right.
Here, Joy doesn't even know what's in the Constitution.
It in a tweet, right?
Yeah. You know?
Term limits for Supreme Court justices. And how about no states' rights when it comes to health care, elections, policing, and guns?
Right.
Wow.
It's just better. That's just better.
Really? He wants to federalize everything.
Amendments help some of that?
Well, here's the problem with the amendment process.
Really fast now. I got 20 seconds.
The problem with the amendment process is that in American history, there have been 115 people allowed to interpret what the amendments mean. 108 of them have been white.
Okay.
That's a problem.
Well,
Wow.
Okay.
The audience is definitely not on his side on that. He sounds like a racist. I'm sorry.
Well, because that's what he is.
I guess he forgets all the white men that died in the Civil War to free the slaves. The hundreds of thousands of Americans that died in that war.
Yeah, and there's one person in particular that he doesn't mention, Crispus Attucks, who is credited by most Americans as the first casualty of the American Revolution. He was killed in the Boston Massacre, and he was black.
Yeah, and that was like a catalyst for that. And for that really getting started, and was what happened to him.
And he wasn't the only person killed in the Boston Massacre. It takes more than one for a massacre, but Crispus Attucks has been someone that's been not only remembered throughout all of American history. At the time of the Boston Massacre, and even during the American Revolution, his name was called by people all over the place, and everyone knew he was black. So this guy is he's just peddling hate to sell books.
He is, and shame on him. And liberals are really into revisionist history, and they never talk about all the people that helped the cause of the black people, all the people that fought to give them their freedoms and died to give them their, Crispus Attucks was killed, and he had friends that were white that were with him that were pissed that he got killed, and they fought they fought because of it. A lot of things like that happen, but you don't. This is the thing with history, what you learn in school. Okay, what you learn in school, and I mean grades kindergarten through 12th grade, is just a blip. It's like a grain in the sand of the history of this country. You need to read on your own, not this clown's book. This is not, this guy's got revisionist, racist history. But you need to read books and educate yourself on the true history of the country. And because what you learn in school is very minute. And how much of that do you even retain? So they can only teach you basic stuff. So when they get all upset that you're not being taught this, you're not being taught that, well, that's what books are for. You can, if you have kids at home and you want them to learn about slavery more, then you get them some books, take them to the library and say, read this, read that. That's what you do as a parent. Well, you don't go off and trash the Constitution. By the way, like I said, nothing he talked about is even in the Constitution. I don't know what the hell he's talking. This guy's just a bigot. He just hates white people. Pure and simple.
I don't think so. Because I've seen.
You don't think he hates white people?
No, no. And I'll tell you exactly what he is. Because I've seen him so many times. There'll be something outrageous happen on Joy Reid that we're talking about, and he's always there for it. He doesn't have any core beliefs. I don't think on race. I think he's found a niche. To sell books and to make a living.
He's like the Alex Jones of the left.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he's just found something. He's found a way that he can make a career with his writing and speaking,
and and go on TV shows.
Yeah. So no, I don't think he really has any. Now he's preaching hate, he's selling hate, and all of that. But
he's like Farrakhan.
I don't think he's a big. I know that sounds crazy to people. I don't really think he's a bigot. I think if he could make a living the other way, he would do it. I think he's just this is a way a couple years ago there were some Christian singers who came out and said they're no longer Christian, and I've often wondered about Christian singers. Sometimes are they really Christians, or have they found a way to make it in this niche as opposed to trying to sing?
I'm sure a lot have, those fallen Christian singers. I don't think were ever Christians. Probably, and it's the same thing with this guy. I'm sure some of them aren't because they can't make it in pop, but they'll get
country or rap.
Right, but they'll get an album in the Christian, and then that's not all of them, but some maybe, That's
what this guy's like with writers and things like that. And,
maybe.
And I've seen that. The late Ed Schultz. Remember Ed Schultz? He was a radio talk show host. He was on MSNBC. He died a couple years ago. And he was a well-known, nationally syndicated liberal talk show host on both television and radio. back in the 80s, he was on the radio as a Reagan conservative.
Yeah.
And when Rush Limbaugh became super big in this country, national syndication, everyone was talking about him. There was a search for the liberal alternative to Rush, and then he has some story, which is a ripoff of Howard Stern's story from Private Parts, about how he saw the light and became and realized that liberalism was the way, and he made it. He was never really a liberal, Ed Schultz. He just found a way to become famous and nationally syndicated, being a liberal. So that's what this guy is all about. Now, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, do not go anywhere. This next segment, I'm going to bring up a couple things that are going to shock you, amaze you, that you will not want to miss. My name's Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will be back right after this.
A Boston nonprofit organization has designed a brand called Value that will give partial proceeds of all sales towards spinal cord injury research to a local lab in one of the world's best rehab facilities. Value was founded by a sister who was the CEO and inspired by her brother, who was recently claimed a paraplegic in a tragic accident. Wearing a piece of research feels different than regular clothing. CEO and founder Nichelle Champa. Value is an online, simple clothing store. The website is valueco.shop. And on Instagram at valueco.shop. Have you wanted to learn how to make a living in real estate? Real estate can be intimidating, but with the right guidance, you can begin a successful real estate career. Shannon Robnett is a second-generation builder and developer, fourth-generation realtor with over 35 years experience in real estate. And on his podcast, Robnett's Real Estate Rundown, he shares his experience and knowledge with listeners. Listen to this clip from a recent episode.
And I've always been able to get people to help me bring that dream to life so that at the end of the day, what we're seeing happen is we're seeing a raw piece of land turn into a commercial investment that is of benefit to the whole community. And then out of that, we're able to create a significant upside for the investors in that development project. So after 12 or 14 months, those investors will receive, I don't want to brag, but over 35% return.
Shannon Robnett shares advice that's actionable on wholesaling, fix and flips, single family, multifamily, and more. Robnett's Real Estate Rundown is available on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, YouTube, Podchaser, and Spotify. Add Robnett's Real Estate Rundown to your playlist right now. The search for the most dangerous book in the world is about to begin. From authors Wayne E. Haley and Sean P. Haley comes An Apology to Lucifer, now available for sale at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Apple Books, and on the book's official website, anapologytolucifer.com. In An Apology to Lucifer, Father Thomas Morelli thought he knew the story behind Lucifer's fall from heaven. However, upon making the acquaintance of renowned book authenticator Lorenzo Pellegrini and being invited to stay in the opulent Venice villa belonging to Pellegrini's master, Thomas discovers he has only heard part of the story. In Boston, psychoanalyst, best-selling author, and outspoken atheist David Wright has been tasked to handle the funeral arrangements of his dear friend, Albert Kennedy. What could have driven this controversial exorcist to take his own life? The answer, it seems, is contained in a book that isn't supposed to exist. Joining forces, Lorenza, David, and Thomas must race against time to prevent an ancient battle from reigniting. If you enjoyed The Da Vinci Code, you will love this book, An Apology to Lucifer. The most anticipated supernatural thriller of 2022 is now available at BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon, Apple Books, and on the book's official website, anapologytolucifer.com. Order your copy right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast. Broadcasting from sunny South Florida, Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Kathy is on Truth Social.
I am. Yep.
As of this moment, as we're recording this program, I am not yet.
I thought you'd be on it by now, for sure.
So, well, my account is active. I'm not going to tell you guys what my handle is until it's fully active where I can access it. But Kathy, yesterday, I don't know, about 5 p.m. or so, you got an email, and it said your Truth Social account was accessible, and you went on Truth Social.
Yes, I'm Florida Mermaid on Truth Social.
Yes, Florida Mermaid.
Florida Mermaid. I have almost 80 followers now. Woohoo.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it's new. I'm new to it, so
Yeah. But
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot like Twitter, but there are some things I would like to see them change. For example,
it's new. It's brand new.
You can't add like a GIF or a GIF, whatever people call it, GIF picture to your truth, which I think would be cool. And you know what? A feature they should have, which would really be good, that Twitter does not have, where you can edit your tweets, edit your truths. They do not have an edit feature. And I think if they had that feature, it would be a huge selling point for Truth, because you cannot do that on Twitter. You cannot edit what once you tweet something, it's out there.
That's a big problem for me, because I have so many typos when I'm tweeting, and then I delete it, and then I start getting messy. Oh, why'd you delete the tweet? People get all freaked out because I don't want to look stupid because I have a typo.
They should have the edit feature on the Truths. I think that would be a good feature to have.
But Truth Social, Kathy, and many other people I've known who have been on the wait list, got through, and are now on. Now, Kathy and I both signed up on President's Day, which was the first day.
Right.
And Kathy signed up about 7 in the morning. You got on.
Yeah.
But I had to be on the air in the morning. I could not get it to work before I went on the air.
You were about 8 hours after me.
Yeah. So by the time I got on there, it was 5 in the afternoon, 5:30 in the afternoon. About 10 hours later. It was a long time. And you've been on Truth Social for about 24 hours now. I was really hoping my profile would be – as soon as my profile's active, you guys will believe me, I'm going to let everybody know.
Well, I read that Trump is not happy how slow it's going, and I agree. It's going too slow. It's just too slow. They need to – and that Devin Nunes said in an article I read on One American News, who's on Truth, that he's amping things up. They're trying to get things faster because it is too slow. And Trump – he's only truthed, if you want to call it, one thing. Welcome, your favorite president, blah, 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 and that's it. And that was 2 weeks ago. So and what's weird is his kids aren't even on the platform. None of them. Because I was looking. Don Jr.
Really?
None of them
Are you sure?
Yep. Tucker's on, Hannity.
Don Jr. and Eric and Ivanka?
I didn't. I typed in their name.
Is Barron on there?
No, I didn't see them. I don't think Melania either.
Really?
So maybe they're waiting, but they need to move it along more quickly for sure.
The reason that Truth Social is moving so slow with the wait list is because if they didn't do it that way, the bot farms would attack it and cause it to collapse, and that's why they're doing that. I mean, now I did look over it through Kathy's profile, and it looks just like Twitter. You can post you can make videos up to 120 seconds, and other than the GIFs, it's exactly like Twitter.
So I'm going to go to Donald Trump's profile because I'm assuming everybody on here is following him. So he has 167,000 followers, but now I was number 172, so maybe not everybody's following him, but a lot of people. So you were what, like 190?
Right. I got an email.
Your original number.
My original number was over 200,000.
Okay. So how much over?
Like 235,000 or something.
Okay. So I was originally 170 something, and he has 167,000 followers. So I think when he gets to around 200,000 followers, you're going to be getting close.
I mean, I got on there 10 hours after you.
Well, so did a lot of other people, I guess.
It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's got some glitches. And when you pull it down, it doesn't always refresh right away.
Well, it's new.
So, like I'm pulling down the feed, and the last feed thing I'm getting is 30 minutes ago.
You know what?
And I know I'm following more people
whenever
than
there's
that.
a new platform like this.
It's got glitches.
A new platform like this, Truth, okay? When people compare it to Twitter and everything, I get that. But I don't really think people think about it too clearly.
It's a similar interface.
Yeah. When Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, when they went live and were first available to people, there were not millions of people waiting around for Twitter and wanting to sign up. Yeah. So, you can't compare the rollout of something like Truth Social to these other things because when including Facebook, when they first rolled out, no one cared.
It was very slow.
Yeah.
Process.
And, Truth, immediately, millions and millions of people went on there. Same thing with like Frank Speech and other things. So the rollouts are different than these other platforms because the other ones had no demand that could overwhelm the system.
They didn't have anybody trying to destroy them.
That's true.
Which Truth Social does. Yeah. It's probably people in Russia and China too that are trying to hack.
And in New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Maybe it's going slow because along the way they're encountering a lot of hackers or problems, and they're trying to eliminate and deal with one problem at a time, which is smart, instead of dealing with a whole onslaught of problems. All I know is this: they're going as fast as they can.
Yeah.
That's all I know. I'm sure Trump wants it up there.
Of course.
I don't know when he's going to post again. It's been 2 weeks, but whatever is happening, they are definitely going as quickly as they possibly can.
Now, I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you so much. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you on each and every episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Jacqueline, Rick, Rich, and Nick. These are our top Patreon supporters. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode. The direct website address is patreon.com/Real Brian Craig Show. And you can also find a direct link on my website, briancraigshow.com. So Tucker Carlson had this farmer on, and I learned something that I did not know, that a huge chunk of fertilizer that's used in the United States comes from Russia. And I did not know this. And I know a lot of you may have known that. I mean, I don't know farming. And that really, I don't get it. You know, the United States, we have some of the best farmland ever, if not the best farmland ever. And there's no need for us to be buying fertilizer anywhere else.
It's cheaper. That's why. That's why we buy everything overseas. It's cheaper. You know, they eliminated all the factory work, and the unions had a lot to do with it, driving up the prices, paying people $40-$50 an hour, and driving up that, and also the NAFTA, and a lot of things factored into that. Now everything's manufactured overseas.
Yeah.
Medications too.
And the price of fertilizer is going up. And this farmer was on Tucker Carlson show on Friday on Fox News and was talking about how this is going to impact food prices. Listen.
Sanctions. Soaring fertilizer prices are likely to spike food prices. If you're upset that gas is up $1 or $2 a gallon, wait till your grocery bill is up $1,000 a month. And it might not just manifest itself in terms of price. It could be quantity as well. Empty shelf syndrome may just be starting.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Up $1,000 a month? I mean, that,
sure.
You know.
Okay, now I know that sounds crazy.
He's like in total shock.
I know, and Tucker's rich, and that's shocking him, right? But I know that sounds like that's crazy. How could it go up so much? Well, he's going to explain, and this just is frightening. This is the world that Joe Biden has given us.
The price of growing my crops, or the major crops of corn, soybeans, wheat, rice, cotton, are up 30 to 40%. They are on my farm, and most of that is fertilizer. Nitrogen prices are up 3 times from the last crop we put in. Phosphorus and potassium have doubled. The planting season in the Northern Hemisphere is just weeks away. There's no miracle technology that can cut that in half or a third.
Yeah.
You know what they'll tell you? You know what Jen Psaki will tell you?
Eat processed
foods. Grow your own food in your backyard.
Victory gardens, like in the World War II.
She'll tell you to plant your own lettuce.
Well, you know,
think I'm joking?
This is the deal.
These people are insane
with the current administration with Biden. I've never seen this. This is a theme on every issue. You've heard me say this before. They have zero empathy for the suffering of the American people or any people.
Zero.
You know,
they're totally out of touch.
There are still American hostages in Afghanistan that are forgotten. And these prices, whether it's gas or anything else, they just don't care. And they're not doing anything to fix anything. No. They're just sitting back and, it'll work itself out.
Well, they're going to care because they're going to lose every election for the next, 3 or 4 election cycles. And they're going to really be in for, now a lot of them, as you know, a lot of these Congress persons are not rerunning, 30 Democrats, because they know they can't get the donations because they're not going to win. It is going to be a major bloodbath for the liberals in November, I'm predicting. And that is when they are going to have to wake up. And when we have the majority of the House and Senate, now that's 8 or 9 months away. A lot can happen. But let me tell you something. These things this stuff with inflation, and it's happening so quickly. It's not like a slow trickle. This is like, happening in a matter of weeks where things are going so high. And, they should be thinking in terms of, okay, what can we do to start manufacturing this stuff here? Let's open some factories. See, that's what Trump would do. He'd say, all right, let's get some factories open. Let's hire people. Let's start making fertilizer here. Screw the Russians. Let's do this. We got it. You know what I mean? They don't think that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Their thinking is, well, just plant lettuce in your backyard and then you can grow your own food.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they think. Ride a bike to work.
And,
I mean, they're insane, these people. This doesn't affect them.
This business with the food prices and the gas prices, these aren't the prices of luxury goods and vacations that are going up. These are things that are like air and blood that you need to live. You need gas to work to make money, and you need food to eat.
This will have a major. They don't like trickle downonomics or whatever, Reaganomics, trickle down.
Yeah,
this will have a major effect like that, because when the gas is too high, when the fertilizer is too high, think of all the produce and all the vegetables. And like he said, wheat, how many of your products come from? Everything is affected by this. And everything comes from the earth in some way, shape, or form.
That's right. And there is nothing that they're doing to fix anything. And we're really heading towards a major economic crisis in this country, because the prices of things that you need to survive, your basic necessities, are going up. And we have people running the country who just don't care.
I'd like to, for those of you listening who are like on a fixed income or live paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of people do, put in the comments how all this has affected you with your monthly budget.
Inflation.
Okay, the Bidenflation with your monthly budget. We put a thing in the comments in the community, and check the community section often on the YouTube page, Brian Craig, because we have a lot of questions in there and polls and things like that. So today I put up, how much is gas where you are, and people are responding and all this. Put in the comments of this show how the inflation has affected your life. Have you had to make any adjustments to your monthly budget? Have you had to sacrifice anything in order to get gas to go to work? And what are you afraid of? What's happening if you have a family of 4 and you're spending $200 a week on food? And this guy says it's going to go up $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, do these people, $1,000 is what Nancy Pelosi pays to get her hair done. I mean, this is nothing to these people. They are completely out of touch. And they don't even know how to fix a problem. That's not even something they're capable of doing. It doesn't even occur to them. They create the problem, and then you got to fix it.
That's right.
We create the problem. Well, now it's your problem to fix when they're the ones who created all this in the first place.
Yeah. Well, listen, we are all out of time for today, but we will be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
There's a podcast that you will want to add to your playlist, Warriors for Christ. That's the number 4. Warriors for Christ is a Christian podcast providing biblical teaching without the doctrines of man. In other words, they like to let the Bible explain itself. The format includes non-denominational readings and teachings from the Bible. They also have interviews and whatever the Lord puts on their hearts to present. Life in this world can be very stressful and filled with anxieties. Warriors for Christ will give you the biblical information you need to help deal with all life has to bring. Warriors for Christ confronts many false doctrines which are pervasive in this age and what some call the church in a box. And they also offer a full gospel ministry. Find Warriors for Christ on Podomatic, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Player FM, Stitcher, Deezer, Amazon Podcast, and Spotify. Warriors for Christ. Share the podcast on all of your social media so your friends can listen to Warriors for Christ. That's the number 4. Add it to your playlist right now.